mosquito, the bringer of perspective. Welcome to my channel, Vigilante. Coming to you today from inside my camper van. I have the AC on because it is stifling outside and it's very humid, so I decided to shoot in here. Plus it's swarming with mosquitoes out there, which last week I kept scratching because I don't have mange. It's just the mosquitoes here out of control, and after editing last week's video, I realized I was scratching throughout, so my apologies for my excessive scratching. But that's what that was about. So anyway, today I hope you're ready. Loosen up, and fasten your seatbelts, because today's topic is a whopper. Not a topic that's unfamiliar to many of us, and today's focus is going to be on the natural phenomenon that many of us experience, known as sleep paralysis. For those of you not familiar with what sleep paralysis is, it is, I'm sure many of you know, but just in case somebody comes across my videos and doesn't have a semblance of a clue, I want to make this digestible for everyone. It's those occurrences when we're either sleeping or in the process of falling asleep, somewhere between awake and asleep, where it's a lucid state, really, where all of a sudden you feel like you can't move and you want to wake up but you can't. It actually hurts. Some people, I would experience great discomfort and even pain trying to wake up. Like it takes Herculean effort to pull oneself out of that state. It could also be accompanied by not ringing, but more of a centrifugal sound in the ears that sounds something like, and also you can experience rattling. And many people, and it's happened to me a couple times throughout my life, where you feel a pressure, like something or someone is pushing down on your chest, and this experience is not pleasant. It's at best it's extremely uncomfortable, and at worst it's terrifying. So I'm here to demystify what all of this is, what it means, what is actually going on, and I have not found this information anywhere. Everything I've ever read about sleep paralysis comes from two factions, you know. The empirical, scientific, very narrow perspective, and the spiritual take on it, which I keep finding the same. It's unbelievable, guys. You know, the same information over and over again, you know, to meditate so you no longer experience this. It's not what we think. I hate to say this, but when it comes to, I mean, if you've heard of somebody, once I give you the info, if you've heard of anybody else telling you this, please put the link below, tell me who the person is, because I want to reach out to this person and hug, you know, because it's not available anywhere. And one thing that brings us a lot of fear with this, aside from the discomfort, is the feeling of not knowing what's going on. At times, you know, feeling other presences around, and there's a reason for that, so let's get into it. Okay, this is going to be a multi section blast of information. As you are aware, we are physical. We are dense. We are physical 3D matter, because atomically we vibrate at a slow enough speed where we are solid, as opposed to being a gas or a liquid or an energy or some sort of energetic. Atomically, we vibrate slow enough to become this dense. That tells you something about our vibratory rate. And just a suggestion, sorry, I have something stuck on my lip. Now, every night or day that you go to sleep, we all experience this. Not the sleep paralysis every night or every time you go to sleep, but what we do experience, although we are not conscious of it for the most part, are out-of-body experiences. Every night when we go to sleep, or whenever we deeply go to sleep, we leave our bodies. And you see, dreams are not only in our head. Dreams are also what we pick up on as we traverse outside of ourselves in the deep state. And basically, due to the limitations of our perception and our perspective, all we can bring back are images, still from our human 3D perspective. Although at that point, we're not in 3D. Now, another pin on that. This leads me to have to talk about God Source. One of the partial truths that we have been fed is that what we imagine God is ineffable. In other words, it's unknowable. There's no way we can have any idea what it is. This is impossible. And that's partially true. In its entirety, it's impossible for us in our state of physicality, our current state of limited perception, to really even grasp what that is in its entirety. However, what we can understand, but have not really been presented with, are how different aspects of that Godhead, of that energy with a capital E, it, all, source, God, all of these things, whenever I say anything with a capital letter in front of it, like energy with a capital E, I'm referring to whatever particular aspect that energy is manifesting as, or what the dynamics of it are. And through that, we can begin to understand, because if we understand the parts, or some parts, at least the ones that many things are before our eyes, and it's just a matter of adjusting the viewfinder in order to bring clarity, to bring that kaleidoscope that's very fuzzy and very off focus into focus. And how would I know this, you ask? Well, I can do a video, and I was thinking of doing a video on my background, on how I came to be a channel and how I got all this information. And there's so much. I mean, you guys, this that I'm presenting you with tonight is not even the main course. It's not super salad. It's not even an appetizer or an hors d'oeuvre. It's one olive on top of the mound of olives in the olive boat. Okay? It's just a little piece. This is how I received the information in thousands of pieces that I had to put together and put in order. So I'm not gonna do that to you, but in the same way that I got it in bite-sized pieces is the same way I'm gonna deliver it to you, because this is gonna be the way everything builds on everything else. And with that said, excuse me, with that said, if I suggest that you have a look, I made a playlist for all the channeling videos. Even if you're not interested in channeling, there's other stuff in there, in particular about our consciousness, the unconscious, the limitations of our perception, what the 10% consciousness really is, and a lot more. So if you're gonna just to be able to process this video better, I would recommend the first 3 videos. The fourth one, the channeling experience part 2, I was just filling in little gaps of stuff I had left out for the channeling experience. But really, those first 3 videos, introduction to channeling and the higher self, listening to your higher self, which is very important for this video. So if you haven't seen that, I recommend that you watch that as well. You can watch it after. You don't have to watch it now, but it'll help tie in maybe some loose ends, and the channeling experience. So if you check out those videos, it's gonna really facilitate and not only make it clearer, which it will, the information that I'm presenting from here on out, but it'll give you a richer, more complete picture of these pieces of information that I'm presenting to you, and will continue to do so. So one other thing that happens when we go to sleep at night is we roll our eyes back into our head. What, pray tell, are we looking at? We'll get to that in a minute. That's an indication of rolling back into the unconscious. Now, we'll put another pin on that. Back to God Source energy. So the first thing that we need to know about God Source energy, okay, with a capital E, is that it moves so fast because it's such a high, what we would consider a high vibration, like I was talking about last time. It's actually moving at a very rapid speed. So rapid, the energy is so fast, it moves so fast that it doesn't move because it's everywhere at once. It doesn't move because we don't see it. But that gives you an idea also why they say God is everywhere and watching everywhere or being everywhere. It has to do with its velocity and its vibratory frequency. Now, all this information was presented, or started being presented to me in 95. July 28th of this year will be 26 years that I have been receiving just buckets of information that is pretty unprecedented. So what happens when we fall into this deep sleep is the energy, God Source, basically, since we leave our bodies every night to roam around and troll around the universe, the energy picks us up because at that point we're out of body. So we are pure energy at that point, which is what our unconscious is. That's what the higher self is. That's why I tell you, listen to my listening to your higher self video. Like I said, this will make a lot more sense. So what happens is the energy picks us up. This happens every single time you're in a deep sleep, but we are unconscious, so we are not aware of it. When you become aware of something going on is when the sleep paralysis happens, because what's taking place is you catch yourself between that asleep and awake, where you realize something's going on. Something is happening, and since we don't know what it is, it's terrifying. The centrifugal sound that's heard, if you're one of those people that hears it, it's basically your energy, which oscillates at a slower pace, being physical, or when it's in the physical, begins to speed up and speed up and speed up as it's rising out of your physical body. Now, since the energy is everywhere, because it moves so fast, it is everywhere at once. This energy, now you're at its flow, so it picks you up and takes you all over the place, and you have your dreams and your experiences, and you're safely back in the morning, or whenever you wake up, whatever time is your sleep cycle. This is nothing to fear. What happens with sleep paralysis is that we're fighting the experience, because we're in that in-between where we know something's happening, we feel a presence. The centrifugal sound, like I said, is the vibratory, our own vibratory frequency speeding up, you've experienced the rattling, and I'm going to tell you about what the first time that I was conscious throughout all of this. And up to now, all of this is information that I got channeling. And with me channeling, especially the first few years, was not just, oh, a download and I got the info and it was in there, or I heard it, or no, I had physical manifestations in front of me. And again, when I make my video, which if you're interested in that, like I said, leave comments, and if I see you have an interest in that, I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next topic. There's so much that this is endless. It's endless. The information is endless, but it's pretty mind-blowing if you write this right with me. So what happens in sleep paralysis and why it becomes painful is because we're fighting the energy source that is lifting us and moving us along. So the struggle becomes ours in that moment. There is nothing to fear with sleep paralysis. And now I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to tell you the experience that I had. The first one, I've had many, but this was the first one that was a big breakthrough, and I was completely blown away because all this info that I received over the course of the years, like I said, I like to experience, and I like to speak from my own experience. So there were many things I had to prove to myself, because I do have a skeptical mind, that what I was receiving was accurate, was the truth. And even if it was true and coming from a higher source, which it definitely did, was my interpretation right? Was I picking up things right? So I have sifted this before coming out. It's taken me 26 years, and there have been different reasons for that. Number one, I wasn't ready. Number two, the world was not ready. And number three, I was kind of scared shitless, because this is stuff that is not the regurgitated shit that you're gonna find everywhere. And I don't mean to diss anyone. I know everybody brings in, and everyone's at whatever level they're at. But this is the kind of stuff that catapults the consciousness to a completely different level. If you stick with me and you bear with me, and like I said, you have an open mind, and set aside for the moment, at least for the time that you're here, any prejudices or programming or belief, and give this a chance. Give this a chance, because it changed my life. And I have shared this through the years with people in my life that has also completely, I'm not going to give myself any more propaganda. I'm going to get back to the topic. Sleep paralysis occurs when you fight against the flow with a capital F, that is energy, picking you up and moving you along. And like I said, this happens all the time. But again, we're not conscious at that time. We're unconscious in our sleep state, so we don't perceive it. So what's happening here is what we're experiencing, that struggle to fight the outer body is what's happening. And when you feel a pressure in your chest, it's not another entity. It's yourself trying to keep yourself in. Fear, it comes from the heart. So the pressure is always on the chest. It's always on the chest. Tell me if you've experienced it somewhere else. Now, all this information, like I said, I got via channeling. But I had to walk the talk. You know what I mean? I had to experience it. I had to see. And I thought I wasn't ready to, and I kind of wasn't, but I trusted, and this is what happened. So I had received all this information on the sleep paralysis and what it was, and how it is that, you know, God's source energy just picks us up every night and you're safely back in the morning, and the dreams are what you perceive. Also, one thing I left out, the eyes rolling back. What's going on in your brain, all the electrical currents, the neurotransmitters sending, every time you have a thought, is the equivalent of a star birthing in space. So what's going on in here is going on out there, and on every plane of existence, every dimension. This is beyond timelines, guys. This is beyond timelines. I guess you could see it as timelines, but it really is beyond that. So the rolling back of the eyes what that is what's going on in the brain is the equivalent of what's going on in space. For every thought that you have, a star is born. What's as many stars in the sky as we have thoughts and electrical currents and neurotransmitters firing off, what's happening in here is happening out there. So dreams are in your head, and us rolling our eyes back is indicative of looking into that realm. On top of that, REM, we go into rapid eye movement. What's happening in that state is you're picking up on the rapidity of the movement that is energy. So you're picking up, and as we wake up, that slows down, the REM, and boom, we're back in focus. Here, awake on this side. So with that said, I'm going to tell you my experience. After I got all this information about sleep paralysis, I thought, okay, well, we'll see. Next time it happens to me, I'm gonna go with it, and I'm gonna let go, as I was told, that you're supposed to do if you want to really take this to its conclusion, which is not the agonizing experience that we battle ourselves to not experience something so mind-blowing. So I'm gonna tell you now what my first sleep paralysis, where I trusted, and it takes trust. It's trusting in what we know or what we believe, that God is everywhere and everything, and that we're safe within it, and we are. But it takes a leap. It does take a leap of faith. But with me, I feel it was more a matter of trust. And this is how I got to that trust. How I got to that trust was through at that point, it had been probably about, this must have been 1999. I had been channeling for about 4 years at that point, a little over 4 years. So much had already come to pass that proved a lot of things to me and my skeptical mind, and it wasn't all like, oh my goodness, I'll believe the first thing and the first thing that no, this was a process. So let me tell you about my first experience and what that was. My goodness, it still blows me away, and I've had many more since then. But the very first time, and I told myself, and the energy that I worked the closest with, that I channel the most, that had been with me since childhood, and that a little bit of that background is in the channeling experience. But the energy that I work the closest with, which is the consciousness that gave me, I would say, about 90% of the info that I have. So after having received this crazy information about what sleep paralysis is, I thought, okay, well, the next time I experience it, I'm gonna go with it, and I'm gonna see if all of this is true, and oh my God, and what it's really about, and if it's real. I wanted to see what it was like. I was a little scared, but I thought, you know what, I'm gonna trust. Because at this point, these guides or higher consciousness have more than proven themselves over the course of 4 years at that point. So one night, I was with my ex at the time, who later became my husband, now my ex-husband. He was with me at that time, and he was laying next to me. He was lying next to me in bed, and he's always made fun of me because I fall asleep instantly. I'm one of those people that I put my head on the pillow like Fred Flintstone, and I'm out. Like, I could be talking to you, and from one instant to the next, I'm passed out. I'm a good sleeper. So I remember looking at the clock before I fell asleep. I was kind of dozing. It was about 2:58 or 2:59 in the morning. And as I'm dozing off, I start feeling that uncomfortable sleep paralysis. And I'm like, fuck. Okay, But then I kept getting, don't fight it. Just relax into it. just relax into it, don't fight it. So I was like, okay, man, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna trust, fuck it. My last words were fuck it. Immediately, I started hearing the really loud in both ears, in my head, all of it. I started hearing what I identify as a centrifugal, a very high-pitched centrifugal sound. And it kept getting louder and louder and louder. And then I was like, okay, let me just go with it. Let me go with it. It was getting kind of obnoxious and loud. And then that stopped, and immediately what started happening was I started feeling a rattling. And I could hear it going, it almost, what I felt was what we see in movies as something breaking through the sound barrier, or Mach 2 or something, where the craft is like rattling. But the rattling is internal, because I asked my ex after, and he was like, no, you twitched and stuff, but you weren't rattling. After the rattling, which also got loud and got really intense, that's when my last thought was fuck it. And the fuck it went, the rattling stopped, and I went, and I was out. I was out, and I was completely conscious. And I started seeing the ceiling getting closer, so I was obviously floating up. And as I passed through the ceiling, between the roof and the finished ceiling, we don't have attics down here. They're if you have an attic at all, it's pretty small. This was a flat roof structure, a mid-century structure with a flat roof, where I lived at the time. And I could see the rafters, the wood rafters, as I was floating up. And next thing I know, I'm out over the house. And I was like, I realized it's really hard to think when you're out of body. You just are. So to generate a thought actually takes effort. But what I was in a state of, okay, and then it hit me. No, wait a minute. Before I was able to muster a thought, I floated out, and all of a sudden, something picked me up. And everything went black, and I couldn't see anything. And I understood that I was hauling ass with and through the energy in what appeared to be the blackness of space, is all I can identify it as. And I could continue hearing. I was being pulled backwards. My legs were like this. I had no control over, because you still feel that you have your body, and not the same, but you feel the same shape. I didn't feel like an orb. I didn't feel like, a twinkle star or something. I felt my limbs. I felt my head. I felt like I was the same shape, just completely ethereal. So I was being pulled back. It didn't feel like a vacuum. It just felt more like a flow. It's a flow that just, like a current that just takes you and takes you and takes you. And I had no control. This is the first time I experienced something like this consciously. I was blown away, and nothing's even happened yet. This is everywhere I went. I'll tell you in a minute. So I'm feeling myself being pulled back. My arms are like this. My legs are extended, and I'm just like being sucked backwards in this blackness, hearing this. And then I had my first thought, and I was like, wait a minute, because I had been told you can go anywhere. You can go past, future, past lives, other planets, underwater. You're out of body, you can go anywhere. So I mustered a thought of, I want to see a past life. Immediately, I felt the direction I was being pulled changed, and I shot out in another direction. That time it felt actually to my left. Whatever left is, it doesn't matter. North, south, it's irrelevant on the other side. For us here, north and south and east and west is to give us a sense of direction, and it's great for mapping and getting places, and seeing where the sun rises and sets. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. Not on the other side anyway. So I feel myself all of a sudden being pulled in another direction. And again, I could hear the whoo and the blackness. I mean, you can't see anything. And all of a sudden I feel slowing down, and I hear the slowing down, and it's going. So I hear the whoo, and then all of a sudden I hear whoo, 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 and I come to a scene. This was crazy. You know how we hear it's like a holographic universe? It was like a hologram, but it was a living hologram. It almost seemed like a cutout in the blackness, in the void. And the vantage point that I had, it was kind of lower from my perspective. I was kind of looking down into it, and it was an entire scene. What I got was sometime in the 1500s. It looked like a fortress or a castle type of thing. There were people. The people looked about this big. So that's the distance, that the perspective that I had of, and I could see it was like life, like normal happening. It was nighttime. There was light coming through the big door in the front. It seemed like some sort of gate, and it was open, and there were other, not too many, but some openings, some windows, and there was light coming through. It wasn't just like dim firelight like they always make the castles look like. There was some lighting going on in there. I don't know if it was fire. I don't know if it was an alternative, form of lighting that, we don't really know about at this point. But it was illuminated, and there were several people. It looked like a little town almost, like people just walking, doing their thing. And the instant that I realized, oh my God, I lived there, and my mother was my mother, my brother was my son. The moment I had that realization, that's it, done. In hindsight, I could have probably gone into it more. Hi, Luca. My dog Luca's here. He's getting hungry, so I'm gonna wrap this up soon. I could have gone in and probably gotten more detail, but this was the first time, and I was just like, what the fuck, right? So the minute I realized, okay, I lived there, and my mother was my mother, my brother was my son, immediately I got pulled off, and I'm going again through the blackness, and I'm hearing this, and then I have another thought, and I think, I want to go to Mars. Right? I can go anywhere. Let's go to Mars. Again, the direction changes. And this happens as quickly as a thought. The thought happens, and you go there. You go there. So again, I thought, I want to go to Mars. And all of a sudden, another directional change. Meanwhile, this whole time, I'm still flying backwards like this with my arms and my legs extended. No control of the body. But I didn't care. I was fine, and I realized I was safe. So at this point, I felt pretty good about it. So again, out in the blackness of space, the same sound, and that took a little longer. But this happened. It felt like an eternity, because that's the other thing on the other side. Time doesn't exist, so everything's happening at once. It's only we that experience time here with our dense physicality, right? So it seemed like an eternity, but it wasn't. Next thing I know, I hear again, I'm being pulled through everywhere in the blackness. I'm hearing the sound, like I said, and all of a sudden I see Mars getting closer and closer, which means I was going in. And I did. And again, as I approached, as the planet came into view, I heard the same slowing down as I'm going in. Next thing you know, I'm on the surface. I'm on Mars. Now, I didn't see any life forms there, but I could hear them. Now, this had been told to me before. There's life on Mars, there's life on all the planets, but they exist in different dimensions from us. They're not necessarily a third dimension. Because we're third dimensional beings, all we see is the densest part of anything. So because different consciousness live in different dimensions, we only see what falls within the range of our 3D perspective, which I'll get more in depth, and the connection with the pyramid as to why we perceive 3D. Anyway, I can go on a million tangents. I'm trying to keep it on track here. So what I did here on Mars, and this is the part that I never went back. I never wanted to go back to Mars, because what I heard, and again, I couldn't see the life forms there, but I could hear them, and what it sounded like was hell. Crying, screaming, agony, suffering. I was like, what? I just knew. It felt a hellish existence for the consciousness that are there. Mars is no picnic. So when I hear these people wanting, sorry, Luca keeps banging on the stand. When I hear these people wanting to go to Mars, let's send the elite. Let's send them first. It's not a good place. And I have much more on that, on the planets down the road. But for now, so that's what I got in Mars, and I wanted to get the hell out of there as quickly as possible. Another thing I saw was land come out of itself. And this I feel was more on an energetic level that I picked up on, or I was being shown that hold on, Luca, hold on, baby, 5 minutes. He's got dry food there, but he's very particular. He wants some rotisserie chicken, which Publix has been at a shortage of, just like communist Cuba. So anyway, to wrap up with Mars, it was what it was showing me was on an energetic level, was land coming out of itself, and what it was showing me was what we would identify as the ultimate evil in terms of Satan, right? And it wasn't like literally, and I got that with what I was seeing, but what I was being shown was that the physical realm is the realm of Saturn. Let's put it that way. It's the realm of Saturn. So once I saw that, and this all happened very fast. I mean, I'm explaining and it's kind of elongated, but this happened very, very quickly. It like as quickly as a thought, really, a thought or two. Excuse me. And the instant I saw that, I was like, I'm out of here. And again, I got pulled out. Again, the blackness of space. I was like, I want to go home, you know. And then I thought, oh no, because anything you think, it'll take you to. It's there. You'll be there. And at the time, I had fears around the ocean at night, which I've overcome since then, but I was terrified of the ocean at night. And so what do I think? Okay, I knew I was coming back home to Earth and to my house and to bed, because I just wanted to wake up at that point. And I remember thinking, oh no, please no, I don't want to land in the ocean at night. No sooner did I think that immediately. It's so crazy, guys. I know this sounds crazy, but this is what happened. Immediately, I start seeing, since I'm coming from up there, from outer space, I start seeing the ocean waves. I live coastal, so it was like, it's here. And I started seeing the black waters. Basically, it was nighttime. It was 3 a.m, you know? And I could see the waves and coming closer as I'm, coming in. But I'm still, because I'm still in the position of being pulled backwards. So I'm falling with my legs and my legs and my arms up like this, falling with my butt down. And as I'm getting closer and closer and closer to the water, I was like, no, 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 no. And I felt my butt and one of my thighs dip in the water. I felt the water out of body. It feels different than the wetness that we feel when we go in water, but I still felt the density of it against what would have been my skin, but it was really my energy, my ethereal body, or my spirit consciousness. So I was like, no, 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 no. And the moment I thought that, it sucked me back up. And next thing I knew, I was in bed and I popped up and I was like, holy shit! I was fucking screaming. My ex is like, what's the matter? I look at the clock, it's 3:21. So all of that happened in about 20 to 23 minutes. Don't take my word for it. All I can tell you is, next time you feel, before I forget, the reason sometimes we see beings around is because, again, since we're in that in-between awake and asleep and we're crossing dimensions, you're gonna see stuff around. But there's stuff around us all the time, more than we imagine, because everything is happening within everything. So I know I've thrown a lot at you. Again, this is only a little bit. All I can recommend to you, and you don't have to believe me, you can experiment for yourself. The next time you feel sleep paralysis, remember my words. And if you're ready and you can trust in Source and in God, this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is part of walking the talk. Let go. Let go. Know that you're protected. Know that you're safe. And know that you will be blown away. And get back to me. Let me know in the comments what you think. I've got a lot more in store for you, and I hope you enjoyed this video. So I'll leave you with that tonight, and until we meet again, much love, laughter, and I'll see you soon.